Okay. Yes, y'all. Good evening. Fullblastradio. Thursday, October 22nd. Day before my firstborn's birthday, which is tomorrow. Shout out to him. I'll be talking to him tomorrow. But right now, we're gonna do something that I couldn't wait to do. This is a interview with Darnley Hodge, correct?
Yes, Darnley Hodge, that's me.
Darnley Hodge, award-winning journalist. He's got over 20 years experience. He is the director, creator of Lowe's, The Legacy of White Supremacy, American Lowe's. Brother, so glad to have you on our channel. Like I was saying earlier, I watched the film, and a salute to you, man, for bringing more consciousness to people, because we need it in these times. But I welcome you to the Full Blast Radio.
Hey, thank you, brother. I appreciate you having me on.
Definitely. I just want to get into it, man. I know, I looked a little of your history. You shot film for was it WJLA TV in DC?
Sure.
And a lot of the news channels, CNN, and over the years. And also saw that your film premiered at the San Antonio Black International Film Festival. How was that? When
that was great, man. It was an outstanding event. You know, us practicing what we preach in terms of being B1, first frequency, on code African people. You know, it's a black-owned, black-organized film festival.
Oh, nice.
This year they had to take it virtually because of COVID and everything. So they found a black-owned streaming platform to use, and so it was just beautiful to be part of an event that we were running from top to bottom. You know, featuring all this black talent at every level, in front of the camera and behind the scenes.
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful. And when did this premiere? Was it was like in the middle of this year when this premiered?
Yeah, the film actually came out August 1st.
Okay.
And that's when it became available to the public. And but the first public sort of screening, we had a couple of smaller screenings because, again, remember, COVID just knocked out a lot of things that we had lined up prior to the premiere. So the first sort of bigger event was the San Antonio Black International Film Festival. Shout out to Ada Babineau who organizes that.
Yes.
And actually, you know, we have some other things coming up with some of the Black History museums and some of those sort of more educational kinds of institutions. People who want to give people another perspective on this conversation about white supremacy that's become so popular in the country so far. But you know, as black men, we talk about this all the time because this is the reality that we have to figure out we're constantly figuring out how to outsmart and undermine and get around and get through in order for us to get ahead.
Oh yeah. Like you said, this is an old subject, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's been going on since we were brought here, you know?
Exactly.
And so I want to like go back to like how was it with you like growing up? Like where did you grow up? Did you deal with a lot of racial tension?
No doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Northern Virginia. I grew up in Alexandria.
Okay.
And a lot of what I had to deal with, I grew up in a very multi kind of cultural area. You know, there was, in other words, there was equal numbers of black kids, white kids, Spanish kids, you know, that kind of thing. The distribution was pretty much even. But, you know, the power dynamic of the system is what it is. So all my teachers were white, mostly white women. You know, it's the type of thing where I'm getting in trouble, sent to the principal's office for doing the exact same thing the white kid next to me is doing. Get my parents called, these kinds of things. So that kind of just constant undermining of my status within the system was just a regular thing. Something that I didn't necessarily see anything that wrong with until I became an adult and looked back and realized that I've been dealing with this whole time. And that's for so many of us. But in middle school, though, was the most pronounced because my dad had moved out into a rural area of Virginia, a suburb of Winchester called Stevens City, Virginia.
Okay.
So when I went to middle school out there now, I'm not in the suburb of DC anymore. I'm not right outside of Washington, DC. I'm in a suburb of a small town that's 2 hours west of DC in Virginia, and I'm in a suburb of that town.
A lot more white people,
Man, I was one of 7 black kids in the school, about 300 for this middle school.
I can't imagine.
So, I mean, I'm getting suspended for stuff, for nonsense, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I've never been suspended from elementary school, but I get in trouble. But here I'm getting suspended for stuff. You know, I'm getting people recommended that I'm getting held back and all this nonsense, and I'm one of the most advanced, like academically. You know what I mean? But you know, just trying to undermine. You know, I didn't even make the basketball team at this school. They had this big, fat, 250-pound white boy on the basketball team, and I didn't make it. You know, what I mean? So that's the environment that I was in. You know? And regularly getting called darky, stupid nigga, you know, that kind of stuff. And again, you know, we talk back, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, we got a couple of fights and that kind of thing, and that was just part of it. But it's one of those things, too, that, you know, I think a lot of black folks who I know, because, again, coming from the D.C. area, I moved back to the D.C. area for high school, and, you know, things was kind of cool from that point on. Yeah. But it's one of these things where I think a lot of times when we grow up in all black areas, we look at black people who live around white folks as like, oh, you don't know what it's like being black. It's like, actually, you know even more what it's like being black when you're around white folks. Yeah. Oh yeah, because they're gonna remind you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and that's absolutely what I experienced when I was out there in the Stephen City, Virginia, when I was out there for middle school. So that's a little of my background growing up. Just to fast forward through a few things, just to kind of flush out the question. Came back to Alexandria. Got into, they had a media marketing program at my high school, which allowed us to do video production, shooting edit video. Nice. I continued with that through college. I majored in communications at Virginia Commonwealth University. Graduated in 98, actually graduated. I was supposed to be class of 99, but I graduated early. And I worked at WTBR Channel 6 in Richmond at their local CBS affiliate for a couple of years. Prior to that, I worked at a few radio stations too. But I was a cameraman and editor at Channel 6. And closer to the end of the 2 years that I worked there, I started freelancing in DC, because DC was still only an hour and a half from Richmond. So you could able to just travel. So I would freelance on the weekends. I realized I can make more money freelancing in DC than I was working 40 hours a week in Richmond. So eventually I quit that and just went to freelance full time, moved back up to the DC area, bought some of my own equipment, and basically grew my company from there. And I've been in business for over 20 years now. I hire out camera crews, I do major productions, I do corporate video, film production, etc. So that's what kind of gave me the experience. And again, you mentioned some of my clients, some of my other clients. I do stuff at NBC, I do stuff at MSN. You know, a lot of the major networks covering Capitol Hill, the White House, etc. So that's where I am with it now. And fortunately, because I had that experience and had my own company, when I'm covering a lot of these stories, you know, on the Hill, and I'm looking at how a lot of the language is being used around black men and a lot of the angles that these reporters are taking, I'm like, man, these people are so missing the point, you know what I mean, and missing the boat. And again, remember, you know, I'm reading ISIS papers, you know what I'm saying? I'm reading, you know, Amos Wilson, you know what I mean? I'm reading a lot of our conscious elders and scholars, and I'm saying, and people who analyze and broken down what the system is about. And I'm not hearing any of this in the mainstream media. None of it. No, they don't want to talk. They don't want to put that out. You know absolutely. That. You know, so it's good that you had that. You know. Exactly. So, you know, basically I'm hearing a lot of people talking about a subject that they hadn't studied, and I realized that I needed to contribute to the conversation, and the American Legacy of White Supremacy film is my contribution, filling in a lot of the gaps that I felt was missing in the mainstream conversation about racism and white supremacy. Yeah, I mean, you know, watching this film, everyone, please go check this film out, theamericanlows.com, purchase the film. You see the promo code on the screen, DJ Tiger in all caps. You get a percentage off, $5 off. Trust me, get this video, watch it. This documentary, it is well worth it. I'm gonna watch it again. Like you said, you know, you own your own camera company. Like that independence is very important, especially nowadays. That independence helped you push this film out without anyone trying to curtail what you want to put out there. Try to, quote unquote, whitewash it. Am I correct? Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And that was key, because even when it comes to doing the equipment, you got some of these companies out here, either they're charging an arm and a leg to rent the gear to do it, you know what I'm saying? Or if you say work at a TV station, you can't use their gear to use your own stuff. So I was in a perfect position because I own all my own stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? Exactly. And basically the same types of the same production skills that I'm using to work for all these major companies, I'm like, yo, let me go ahead and apply this to a subject matter that is relevant to me and to my people, and that will help hopefully elevate our collective consciousness and improve our collective condition. You know, I'm basically trying to do what Dr. Yosef Ben-Yakin said when he said, listen, take whatever it is you do for black people, take whatever it is you do best and do it for black people. Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
it's all about empowering, like you said, and educating. Because
Exactly.
like I said, watching this film, like there was a few things I wrote down because I didn't want to forget. It was like I don't want to give the film away. I want people to watch it, but when they talked about the symbols that they took from Egyptian, like from the eagle,
Sure.
you know, the monument.
Sure.
I was like blown away, like I had no idea. And that made me want to be like, I never seriously thought about going to Africa. Like it just, you know, you hear people say to go, yo, it's a beautiful experience. But I'm telling you, after watching this and listening to them talk about what's really real,
right,
I have an interest now of going, like deeper than I ever thought. I didn't even think I would think to do that. Watching this film, I want to.
Man, that makes me very happy to hear that, because that was exactly the effect that I wanted that footage and that segment of the film to have.
Yeah.
And again, well, I'm sure we'll talk about this more in the conversation. As you know, the film starts off talking about our situation here in America and how the history of whiteness kind of developed and how this system of white supremacy developed. But the point in that segment when I'm talking about our African history is to show that we are often we're sold a line of goods about our own story from somebody who has a vested interest in lying to us.
Yeah.
We are also given the impression that we can't access that history ourselves. That's why it was so important for me to go back to Egypt directly with Brother Ashra Kwesi for KemetNu.com. For those of y'all who are interested in going to Kemet, go to KemetNu, KemetNu, KemetNu. That's Ashra Kwesi's site. He's been taking brothers and sisters back to the continent twice a year for almost 40 years now.
Wow.
41 years now.
Oh, wow.
You know? And he takes you and shows you from an African lens, through an African perspective, our history, and shows us in that meta-nature, which the hieroglyphics on the wall shows us, takes us to the places that a lot of the other tour guides would avoid because it's black faces, because it's obviously black people here. They don't want to take you to that part, even when you go there, even when you go on your own. You'll get, you'll get a tour guide who's not of African descent. You'll get, an Arab tour guide or something else who want to show you things that reinforce a different type of narrative. That's why we always see that fake Nefertiti, representing Africa, or representing ancient Kemetic royalty. When, again, that's a whole nother conversation. There's no evidence that that's even Nefertiti at all. That bust was found in Germany.
Wow.
But that aside, the symbolism piece of that was to show that our history is all around us. We just need to know what it is in order to recognize it. And when we have that knowledge of self, we no longer feel like I'm in a society that doesn't have that, where I don't see myself at all. We see ourselves everywhere, because I thank God that because I've been able to take time to study our history intimately, I see our history, I see us all over the place, even within this system. I'll give you an example that's not even one from the film. I was working on a reality show a few weeks ago. We're doing this boating reality show on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and one of the guys who was on the set, white guy, was talking about some new rap song, right? And of course, we're from the hip hop era, we're from the true school hip hop era. I don't know whoever he's talking about. Somebody new, you know what I mean?
Some mumble guy.
And he's like, you know that song. I'm like, dude, I have no idea who you're talking about. So the white guy who's a friend of his adjacent to him goes, yeah, I don't know about anything unless it has a banjo in it. Now here's the thing. You know what that statement's really meant to say. I mean, he's really saying, I don't know nothing about that black music. I don't know nothing about that black stuff. But because I know our history, I said, well, actually, the banjo is actually an African instrument.
Yes, it is.
He's like, what? I was like, yeah, banjo is actually an African word. I said, as a matter of fact, Bela Fleck even did a documentary where they wanted to go back to Africa to learn the history of the instrument that they're so well known for in the U.S. and around the world amongst Europeans. He was like, no. And then he walked away for a few minutes, came back with his phone. He was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm looking at it. He had pulled up the boom. My point is, those are the types of interactions that happen when you know who you are. If I didn't know our history, I would have walked away still knowing that the white man was trying to slight black music. You follow me? By saying, I don't listen to nothing unless it got a banjo in it, but I would not necessarily have the ammunition to come back and actually enlighten him with something.
Drop that knowledge on him.
Exactly. So
that's beautiful.
So for me, adding that piece to the film is giving all of us the ammunition that we need in order to understand that this civilization that we're in, that's victimizing us today, was actually built on top of us. And before we know it was built on us during slavery. So we know the society was built on top of our labor.
Yeah.
But it was also built on top of our mathematics, on top of our organizational structure, on top of our aesthetic, in terms of very look, in terms of them positioning Washington, D.C. where it is along the Nile River, where they have on the west bank of the Potomac River, you have Arlington Cemetery. Just like on the west bank of the Nile, you have the Valley of the Kings.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They literally were brought, and as Brother Tony Browder, who's featured in the film, says, they were literally trying to recreate Egypt here on the Potomac. And they've hidden that from us, from those of us who are the real heirs to that birthright. And what this film does is offer a few nuggets that hopefully the viewer will want to go down the rabbit hole further and learn, because this history is so deep. The further back you go back in history and learn, the blacker it is.
Yeah.
Simple as that. You know?
The one of the speakers on there, a white woman, I forgot her name.
Jacqueline Battalora.
Jacqueline, yeah.
Also Birth of a White Nation.
Birth of a White Nation, yeah. I liked how you had her on there because, she's explaining, how it really is. Like, she knows, obviously, as a white woman, and I just thought it was so well put together because everyone explained in sections, how this started,
Absolutely.
What's going on now, where it came from, and I just, I just recommend this for everyone. Everyone in the chat room, please go get this film. I'm telling y'all. There was a scene where I think, she spoke saying that as an American, she never said I'm a white American, but everyone else had to say I'm Asian American, I'm African American. Like white American is just American. So it's like, it's separate. Like you guys are down here, even though you're American, but you have to state you're African American. We just say we're American, Exactly. And it's like that ego and that narcissistic thinking that they don't even know that they have by putting that out there like that. People were here before Columbus got here.
Absolutely.
I say this every Columbus Day. Only Christopher I acknowledge is Wallace and Rios.
Right.
Big Pun and Biggie.
Right.
So, and I've seen that over the years. So many people just, it's gotta pronounce it.
Indigenous.
Indigenous Day. We don't even recognize the Columbia. So, and I saw that in there as well. And not even knowing that there were Africans over here before they were brought over here on the ships.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That was
one of the things that Brother Runoko, Rashidi, and Tony Browder talk about is how 2,500 years, at least 2,500 years before Columbus, Africans have been coming to these shores. So that history is deep, and that's all in the American Lowe's film. But also, and again, I want your viewers to understand that this film is not just a history lesson. It's a present lesson. It's a lesson, like you said, when she's talking about how white people are just American and everybody else is a hyphenated American, African American, Asian American, etc. This is about, the reason I wanted to create this film was for points like that, because we need to understand not just the overt ways in which we encounter racism, but we need to understand the subtle ways in which it's hitting us all the time that we've accepted that we don't even necessarily see.
It's normalized,
Exactly. Like one of my other mentors, Brother Mfundishi Jahudima, he says, we're upside down, inside out, and backwards. So a lot of us think that it's a matter of getting our head on right, but even after that, you still upside down and backwards. And Even if you get inside out, you still twist it around. There's so many layers to peel back. Of this system that has been placed, that has been just piled on top of us in so many ways. Just another example, because we have the American Lowe's web series as well, which is a companion to the film, which is available on YouTube. And one of the things, following through with that same point you just made about what Jackie Battalora said about being American versus hyphenated American. One of the videos I recently just posted, she talks about how journalists could do a better job of dismantling white supremacy by naming white. Because, for example, the same way we don't say white American, they don't do it in journalism. In journalism, they'll say, hey, I interviewed DJ Tiger, an African-American DJ from New York. And then I interviewed, Henrique Gonzalez, a Latino a shopkeeper from Georgia. And then I interviewed Bob and Sally.
Okay.
But they won't say I interviewed Bob, a white business owner from Texas.
Yeah.
Or I view Sally, a white woman from blah, blah, blah. But if you're African American, they say you're African American.
Yeah.
If you're anything other than white, they'll say it. And the reason that's important is because we suddenly internalize that omission of labeling, meaning white, that when we read anything and it doesn't explicitly say that this person is not white, we assume that they are.
We assume it, yeah.
So therefore, they can lie to us by omission all day, just by telling you about the ancient Egyptians and just never saying what race they are. And because of that conditioning, we assume that they were white.
Oh, well, yeah, and you go back to the films. I mean, Cleopatra, you know, they put that in Hollywood. Obviously, they're going to do that. They're not going to show us in those films from back in the day. So we shouldn't even be shocked. But your point is, know your history, know who the real ones were.
Exactly.
You know?
Don't let somebody else tell you who you are. Know for yourself. Do what our ancestors weren't allowed to do. Read, you know. Look for African and African American scholars and sources for our information about us. Too many of us are getting our information about us from somebody who's not us.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and that's why it was important for me to not only read a lot of the books that I read, because I've done a lot of studying on this myself, but I wanted to talk to these people directly. Yes. You know, I didn't want to just, and I didn't want to just talk with Ashra Kwesi, for example, about Kemet and about the tours. I went with him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
See it for yourself.
And I'm interviewing him on the Nile. I'm interviewing him at Abu Simbel and at Dendera and at a lot of these ancient sites where he's showing you, look, this is us. Yeah. You know, and we're here. And again, because it puts into the viewer's mind, like you said with yourself, I can actually go there. I can do this myself. This isn't some theoretical thing in a box somewhere or in the past. This isn't an abstract concept anymore. I'm looking at this is real. These are black people that I know and relate to who are there right now. Yeah. I want to do that. I want to be where they're at. You know, and that's what I want people to say when they see this. You know, I want us to say, and so that's a big thing. You know, I think that one of the things that Frances Cress Welsing says in the film that is so powerful, she says, you know, too many of us value white approval. That's what we consider success as black people, not black respect for self. Yeah. So we're looking for the mainstream, the authority. We're looking for somebody else to sign off on our freedom. Yeah. And we're looking for solutions provided to us by people who don't have our best interests in mind. So they got us only worried about voting or only worried about, you know, police or whatever. You know, but the thing that there's to understand about white supremacy, and again, I'm not one of these people that's big on debating white folks about white supremacy. I talk to my people because it's up to us to work with them. We got everything we need to raise ourselves about our situation if we just have the mentality to do so. You know? So again, this film is for black people. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, a lot of white folks have watched it and gotten value from it and really appreciated it as well, and I welcome that. But my primary audience is brothers like yourself, sisters, you know, our wives, our aunts and grandmothers, and
I want my kids to watch this.
Exactly, you know? Our children, because we are gonna have to not only do for ourselves, but we need to do for ourselves with a proper understanding of who we are. Yeah. Because if we don't have that understanding, all we're gonna do is imitate what we've been shown, and we're gonna do unfortunately, like brothers and sisters did when they went back to Liberia, and that is treat our own people the way the white people treated us. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? And even we don't want to do that. Yeah. You know, and so, you know, I think that in a lot of ways, this system is so insidious, man. I mean, like I said, I'm not a person to debate with white folks, but when people want to debate about the existence of white supremacy, for example, I don't have that at the ground level. I take them up to 30,000 feet, okay? And at 30,000 feet, you can see the entire globe, right? And when you look at the entire globe, there is no place on planet Earth where white people are governed, policed, educated, fed, housed by non-white people. There's no place on planet Earth where non-white people are holding the keys to survival for white people. There's no place on planet Earth where white people are dependent upon non-white people to get anything, really. Now, we know that they're stealing our resources from Africa, but again, they don't have to. They're not trading with us fairly to get those resources. They're going there and taking them. Yeah, you follow me? So when people talk about these individual instances of, you know, Derek Chauvin and George Floyd, or any of these cops that are killing black men, you have to understand that's a microcosm. Those of us who understand the Kabbalion, as above, so below, as within, so without. When you look at the white man who feels like he can take anything from this black man, this white cop who feels like he can take anything from this black man, including his life, that's just a microcosm of the mentality that European civilization can take anything it wants from African civilization, including those people, including the goals and minerals. It's the same mentality, just on an individual scale.
Yeah.
But this system will always encourage us to separate it. Be like, well, that doesn't have anything to do with that. And what does Colin Kaepernick have? This is about football. This isn't about this. And why is Kim Kardashian getting involved in prison reform? They want to always separate it. They always because they know that any intelligent person, when you look at the big picture, you'll see where this is just a symptom. This is just this police shooting or whatever is just representative of the overall culture. Of white supremacy. And that indeed is what the American legacy of white supremacy, the American Lowe's film is about. I take my lens, I take my camera, and I focus it on their system, their culture. Similar to, we watch National Geographic, right? So white folks have an entire platform called National Geographic that does what? Doing it for decades. Travels around the world, pointing the camera at non-white people, explaining to primarily white readers how these people live, how they work, how they operate, what they eat, how they bury their dead, how they worship, right? All they do is travel around looking at non-white folks, primarily 99% non-white folks, explaining how they live. So I said, you know what? I can do the same thing. Let me point my camera at y'all. Let me point my camera at your society and see how your society is developed and how you treat people and what your values are and what your codes of ethics are. And let's examine them. And we have the right to do that. And that's another thing I wanted to get across in terms of the story behind the making of the American Lowe's, is that I am using the same skills that I use on behalf of a lot of these networks. I'm using it to add an Afrocentric and African lens, looking back at the same system and examining them and allowing my people to come to draw their own conclusions on. I'm not asking white folks anything about their opinion. This is not one of those projects or films that's designed to appease white liberals, for example.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Exactly.
This isn't a bunch of Democratic talking points, and that's not what this is at all. This is about giving us another understanding, an elevated understanding of how we got to where we are and what's possible for the future. Because if we understand what's possible, if we understand what we've actually done, our vision for what we can do expands. If you don't know where you've been, your vision for where you're going is going to be very narrow and limited.
Yeah, blurred. Yeah, fog, everything. I always said that, like we used to just sit around and talk, like, the system's messed up, man. The system's failed. But then years later, I would say, no, the system is designed to do exactly what it's designed to do. If you read the declarations from back then, we weren't included in that. So they built the system to do what it's supposed to do.
Exactly.
As long as we can realize that and try to work around it, or like you said, you have to gain the knowledge of who you really are, you'll get a bigger understanding.
Exactly.
What's going on.
And we'll have a different vision for what's possible. Again, I think so often because we're not given images like the one seen in this film, like the one seen in my brother Taki's film, Hoppy. He has a new film called Hoppy out, Hapi. That's a dope one to check out. Or Tariq Nasheed's Hidden Colors series. These are all important films. My man Amadeus Christ has a film called Out of Darkness. There's a revolutionary, independent black filmmaking culture that's been developing over the last 8 or 9, 10 years. And what all of our mission is to give us a different sense of who we are, so we can have a different idea of who we can be. I find that our eldest generation, upon whose shoulders we stand, because of the fact that a lot of this information was kept from them, their vision for what's possible actually, even though worthwhile and worth pursuing, is actually still 1 or 2 steps short of where we can actually go. I'll give you an example. I don't know, you might remember this too, maybe about 10 years ago, Tavis Smiley hosted something called the Black State of the Union. Okay. And he had a big round table. You can find, and it's on, they got episodes on YouTube. If you look it up on YouTube, you'll find them. Tavis Smiley hosted, it had Julian Malveaux and Farrakhan and Michael Eric Dyson and Cornel West and Jesse Jackson, and this whole round table full of these brilliant black minds, brilliant black thinkers, right? Talking about what they should be asking for from this new black president who had just been elected, Barack Obama, right? Formulating a unified black agenda, basically, and deciding what is it that we want this black president to do for us, you know? And now one of the themes that kept coming up throughout that entire 3-4 hour roundtable was this idea that and I'm paraphrasing here, but we have 41 million black people in America at the time. We have 41 million black people in America. If we all get on the same page, more or less, there's nothing we can't get this government to do for us. That was kind of the theme, right? Okay. And I think that's a great aspiration, and that is true. But why stop there? I'm saying if there's 41 million of us on the same page, we don't need the government to do anything for us.
Yeah. If we were all on the same page, 41 million, yeah.
We don't need the government to do anything for us. And if we start operating from that mentality, I think that what we'll find is we will actually advance. We will actually nullify racism, white supremacy, where it won't matter. It won't matter if what you're teaching in your schools, because we got our own schools. It won't matter if you're hiring us or not, and you discriminate against in your jobs, because guess what? We can hire our own people. You follow me? You got millions of white people in America that for generations could be born in a hospital with white doctors, grow up going to a white daycare, white elementary school, white middle school, white high school, white college, graduate, work for a white company, retire, having never had to depend on a non-white person their entire life. Millions of white people have lived exactly like that. That aspiration should be that for black people as well. My black son should be able to have my black son go to a black school, graduate from black school, go to a black college, graduate from black college, get hired by a black company, be able to provide for his black wife and black children, and never having to rely on somebody outside of his community and culture for a dollar his whole life, if he chooses to. Yeah. Now, we can still, of course, cross lines and still work with each other, but we shouldn't have to be dependent on somebody else's system.
Just like they're not dependent on,
Exactly. And so many, I was talking to a reporter today locally, and one of the things that she was saying, and I mean, beautiful sister, beautiful mind, very sharp. One of the things she was saying was that at her HBCU was how they, really reinforced, because one of the points I was making to her was that I wish HBCUs were more incubators for progressive black thought in that kind of way. In other words, a lot of our HBCUs are basically teaching black people the skills that we need in order to survive in this system as it is. You know what I mean? They're turning out qualified black lawyers, doctors, etc. But these, I would envision these places graduating hundreds of thousands of black people every year who are looking to build our own system, our own economy. You follow me? As opposed to just qualifying them to work for Fortune 500s. We should be qualified so that they could be graduating and building up these black companies, working for black companies. You know what I'm saying? And create that same kind of funnel that I just outlined a second ago.
Exactly.
And so, like I said, I think the vision that we've had has been just short of that. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's great to aspire to be a black president. That's cool. It's great to aspire to be a black CEO of a Fortune 500 company. That's cool. But where is the vision to create our own network whereby we don't have to be a CEO of their company because our companies are thriving? You know what I mean? We don't have to, we don't have to necessarily look to somebody else's system. Yeah. I would love to see all the black NBA players say, you know what, we're gonna start our own league. For the first year, we're all gonna play for free because we got dough, just to bring the viewers over, bring the advertisers over. Then after that, we'll start paying salaries, blah, blah, blah. Nobody will watch the NBA after that because the games would be sorry. Yeah. They're gonna watch our league because we got all the players.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? It's just a mentality, mentality. Yeah. So that's what the American Legacy of White Supremacy film is designed for us to start thinking about. Start wrestling with that kind of next level advanced vision for what's possible for black people.
Yeah, it's, man, I tell you, and watching, oh man, I've seen so many, clips of us getting, murdered by the police. It's like, it became, what do you call it? Numb.
Yeah, you got desensitized.
Yeah, but when I watched this through your film, because it was in the film, it wasn't just, seeing it on the news and that's it. I got mad all over again, man. Just watching, like Philando Castile, it just,
Scott, sure.
Yeah, it built up inside of me again, like, like just the blatant disregard for our lives, unarmed. I was talking to someone the other day about there was a story about a sheriff in Florida, a white sheriff, and he went to arrest this 21-year-old white guy in his house, and They were gonna put the cuffs on him, and they told him, "Look, you're gonna be at a psych evaluation for 48 hours or whatever, because I guess something was wrong." He escaped. He starts running, so the guy's running after him, and he's got the camera. You know, they're running.
Right.
He corners the guy. He's like, "Look, come on." The guy lunges at him, stabs him in the neck. He pulls a knife out. Cop still didn't shoot him.
Right.
He pulls the taser out, and he's like, "Look, I'm telling you." Then finally tases him.
Right.
I'm like, if there's anyone that should have been shot by the police, it should have been this dude.
Absolutely.
He stabbed him in the neck.
Absolutely.
Like, we don't even have a weapon. We don't even assault the cops, and we're getting murdered. Like, and people just don't understand. You know, then they come with, oh, you know, well, his record, so he deserves to get murdered by the cop because of his record. No, you arrest him, he goes through the courts and deals with it that way. You don't. He's not judge, jury, and executioner, but that's the mind state. Right. Another friend told me that there was some cops chasing the kids on the dirt bikes. One was on a legal dirt bike, and because they couldn't catch them, the cop just ran him over.
Wow.
Just blatantly ran him over. Like, you ain't supposed to do that. Like, just that superiority mentality, like, you're lower than me.
Right.
There's no protect or serve anymore. It's protect who we want to protect.
Exactly. And that's one of the things but that comes, again, as the American Lowe's Films talks about, that mentality, and there's a history of that where white people in general, much less the police, there are no laws protecting black people that they're bound to respect.
Yeah.
You see, we come from a history of black people not even being able to testify against white people in court if he were violated.
Oh yeah, you couldn't even speak on it. That was in your film too. If you spoke about him, you were going to be hanging from a tree.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the history behind why they feel empowered to be able to do that. But and again, this is why I say it's so important for us to command our own understanding of our situation, so we don't adopt somebody else's description of what we're going through. Yeah. Somebody else is describing what we're going through, and we're up here actually trying to argue with them and trying to make a point, trying to say, well, no, it wasn't justified. It has nothing to do with justification. That's not what it is. This is about these people hate us. They want to kill us. They want an excuse to kill us, and they find one and they use one.
And they get away with it every time.
And that's what it's about. So it's not about it actually being justified or not. That's the argument I don't even waste my time with.
Yeah, it's a cop out. Yep.
Because it assumes that the cop doesn't want to shoot this black man, but he does want to shoot the black man. He just wants a reason to.
Yeah.
That's the reason he stopped them in the first place. He was minding his business. I'm taking a hypothetical situation now, but we know it's not hypothetical. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Brothers are minding their business, and the cops will go in and engage them because they're looking for a reason to have to arrest this guy or beat him up or kill him. So they're looking for that. That's what they're proactively in search of. So when it comes to white people, it's like, hey, I'm not looking for you. I don't want to shoot you. I don't want to shoot you. And I've watched hundreds of hours of these police videos, and so often I hear that phrase come out of white cops' mouths when it's a white person.
Yeah.
I don't want to shoot you. I don't want to shoot you. And sometimes they do shoot them, but it's preceded by saying, look, I don't want to shoot you.
Yeah.
But they don't. You know. Yeah. But when it comes to black people, it's stop or I will shoot you. You know what I'm saying? Because they want to.
They're looking for that conflict.
How they'd be like, give me a reason. Give me a reason. They want a reason. They look at us. Something that Tariq Nasheed said in the interview, and he was right. This is years ago. He said, anytime a black person walks into a room, every white person in that room is looking at you. It's like a silverback or a pit bull just walked into the room. You keep an eye out. You're like, okay, and you've already worked out in your mind what you're gonna do if this person who you're already afraid of looks like they're gonna be threatened.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So when that cop even saw those black men in whatever situation, he already had in his mind, I might have to put these guys down.
Yeah. Yep.
When he sees white guys acting up, it's more, I hope I don't have to do this. Let me see if I can work this out.
Look how many black cops were profiled by white cops, and they were cops themselves.
My dad is one of them.
Wow.
My dad is one of them. My dad has 40 years in law enforcement. He's actually responsible for cleaning up the New Orleans jail right now. And if you look up Google articles on Darnley Hodge Sr. at the New Orleans jail, you'll see the reform that he's put there.
Wow.
And when he first went to New Orleans, for example, and this is just one example, I'll give you plenty of examples.
Yeah.
But since I'm on New Orleans, when he first went there, he was driving to the jail from the airport or something in his unmarked car. A white man was in front of him, stopped, they passed by these police, the white man said something to the police car, and then kept driving. When my dad gets to pass the cop pulls him over. So black cop gets out of the car, runs up to him. You following that car in front of you? You following that guy? My dad's like, no, I'm not following him. I'm going to work. Get out of the car. You're under arrest.
What?
So he's like, no, actually, no, I'm skipping ahead. He goes, I'm not. He goes, well, what are you doing? He goes, you know what? I'm not gonna. My dad goes, no, I'm not gonna answer any more questions. You know, I'm not gonna answer any more questions. So I'm gonna tell you the other story about to get out of the car. You're under arrest, because that's actually a different story. In this instance, the cop goes, okay, so he takes his license, calls him in. Next thing you know, another car pulls up behind that cop. Another cop car pulls up behind them, and this white guy runs out full speed. Says, "Go ahead, director, go ahead," because my dad's the director of the New Orleans jail.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this guy's like, so the white cop pulls up, knows who he is, and it's like, yo, like telling the black cop, like, yo, what are you doing? Because my dad says he sees his body language, you know what I'm saying? And then he's like, go ahead, you're all right, you go ahead. But if that had been any other black man, he would have been snatched out the car and been arrested.
Yeah.
Another situation when my dad was running the Riverside Regional Jail in Virginia, Central Virginia. As a matter of fact, at the time he lived in Colonial Heights, and when he took that job, one of the other sheriffs told him, don't move to Colonial Heights because that's colonial whites and we don't want you there.
Oh, shoot.
So, of course, my dad builds a big-ass house in Colonial Heights. Okay? So,
like, yeah, I'm going to be here.
Exactly. You know, and at this time, he's the superintendent of the Riverside Regional Jail. So one morning, he's actually coming to visit me because I'm up in D.C., he's about to take a flight out of one of the airports up here, and he was parking his car at my house. You know, while he was you know, going on where he's going on his trip. He's gonna park his car at my house. So he's leaving early in the morning. You know, the sun is coming up. You know, it's kind of twilight. You know what I mean? So he's driving down Route 1. No other cars, nowhere on the road. He stops at a traffic light, turns off his lights and turns it back on because he wasn't sure if his headlights were on. It was that time of day where you know, you couldn't really tell if his lights was on. You know? So he had them on, but he turned them off and turned them back on again to make sure that they were on. The light turns green. My dad turns to make a right. Cop pulls out of the Waffle House parking lot, pulls him over. License registration. My dad gives license registration. Yeah, you know you were driving up the boulevard with no lights on. And my dad goes, actually, my lights were on. I just turned them off and on real quick to make sure they're on. Get out of the car. You're under arrest.
Under arrest for what?
So my dad gets out the car, and as he gets out the car, the officer goes, "Oh shit, you're Superintendent Hodge." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, go ahead, sir, go ahead." He goes, "No, if I'm under arrest, You know, I'm under arrest me." You know, he's like, "No, go ahead, sir, go ahead, sir." My dad's like, "No, I'm under arrest me. I can see the magistrate get bailed out in time and still catch my flight, you know? If I'm under arrest, put me under arrest."
Yeah.
You know? No, go ahead, sir, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. But if that had been any other black man, he would have been arrested and convicted of whatever the cop would have made up, plus resisting arrest and some more nonsense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I know firsthand what the police are capable of. And again, like I said, I'm 43. My dad's been in this field of work my entire life. I have countless stories through him of things that he's dealt with, other police officers pulling guns on him because he was armed. You know what I mean? And these kinds of things. And a lot of times people think that, and again, being the type of officer that he was in terms of not being a Tom, not being somebody who's cracking black men over the head unnecessarily, these kinds of things, and somebody who's an actual advocate. Like his jails, actually, when he became superintendent, I've seen the letters myself, but people actually writing him things saying, "Thank God I was in your facility because it got me off drugs." You know what I'm saying? Thank God, you know, I've been locked in my whole life, and after I left your jail, I haven't been back since, because he actually had effective programs to rehabilitate people.
Yeah, because when you go to jail, that was the thing. You're supposed to go there and get out and not go back. These jails now, man, they're in there selling drugs. They're in there pimping people. Like the cops in there are worse than the criminals.
Exactly. That's the first thing he had to do when he went to New Orleans. He fired the whole HR department because he's like, yo, y'all are hiring the wrong people to begin with. Yeah. First day on the job, y'all fired.
Get them out of here. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's how you got to clean house from within.
You know. So that type of relationship between police and black people, and again, it's not just police in the poor black communities, it's in black people in general. That's the reason you have so many of these cops, these black cops, who end up working against the rest of us because they're looking for safety, because they know that if they even try to stick up for us, a lot of times they will be targeted by their own coworkers.
It's like a gang. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, and it wasn't until my dad got to a level where you'd be really foolish to try to do that with him at this point. You know what I'm saying? And this is the last the last half of his career, the last 20 or so years of his career, he's at that level where he's like, arrest me if you want to. You know what I'm saying?
You're gonna have your gun and badge in the afternoon. Yeah.
Exactly. So And so that's what's happened with what he's done with the New Orleans jails. Completely cleaned it up of drugs. They actually caught people trying to break into the jail with a backpack full of drugs because he had sewn up all the ways in which they were doing the smuggling.
Wow.
Got rid of. So they used to have prisoners stabbed almost every month. There hasn't been a stabbing there in like over a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just tighten it up. So my point is, I am intimately aware of how that system kind of works and how it does indeed deliberately target black people. And you can be one of them, but if you ain't about their agenda, they're gonna target you too. And like I said, my dad was one of them. My dad was one of them. He's been, so yeah.
Wow. Yeah, man, and that that goes with like you growing up and knowing the stories and knowing it kind of shaped what you wanted to do, right? With what you're doing now.
Absolutely.
With the American Lows, and like I said, traveling to these other countries. That's what I said, about a lot of people I know that growing up, you're in your neighborhood and it's like this is your world. Not knowing it's so much more outside of I was in New York. When you travel, I was in the Army, you know what I mean? I went to Missouri, then I went to Virginia, but people that, when you expand your mind, when you go to Europe, when you go to all these countries, you get a better understanding too of the world, and I think that helps too with people to try to, just make themselves a better person,
I agree. 100%.
Yeah.
You gotta travel. You gotta get outside of the box.
Yeah.
Get outside of your box.
Yeah. There was a piece in the film that I didn't realize that was kind of, it went towards discrimination. Beauty contest. And when it was explained, I said, wow. It was always, the blonde and blue eyed.
Right.
That was the definition of beauty.
Sure.
100 pounds soaking wet, When they showed the beauty contest from back then,
right.
Obviously they weren't putting any black women on Latinas on that stage, and they were forcing a mindset of this is beautiful, that's not.
Exactly.
But to me that was such hypocrisy because look how many of these, the slave owners, had kids from black women, like slaves. I know a lot of them, they did it to dehumanize the black man, whether it was, the men's wives or whatever, but, they still wanted them, so to me it was like a hypocrisy. Y'all were doing that to try to show, what was beautiful, what wasn't, but yeah, you were still lusting for them because it shows in what y'all were doing to the slaves.
Absolutely. And again, it comes down to when you're going to create an entire system based on the idea that you're superior, that means that you have to place a value on every aspect of not just yourself, but on that you deem inferior. So that means that white skin, it's not just that white people are superior to black people within your idea. That means that white hair has to be superior to black hair. That means that a white nose and facial structure, bone structure, has to be superior to the black facial structure.
Yeah.
That means that a flat white butt is better than a big black butt.
Definitely ain't.
Yeah. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These are the kinds of ideas that you have to put out there. There can be no aspect of these people that you deemed inferior that is indeed superior or equal to your own.
Yeah.
And we see how that mentality gets carried out, not just in beauty contests, but just in the idea of how we look at history in terms of, look how many white people will dismiss or just refuse to believe the idea that Africans came to America before Europeans did.
Yeah.
Because they've been ingrained with this idea
No, they were slaves.
that we haven't done anything, that there's no way Africans could have done anything before Europeans.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And it's based on that alone and nothing else. Just the idea that we are superior. There's nothing that these people have done that we didn't do first. They even give us Black History Month that way. Black History Month for a long time is starting to change in recent years, but when you and me were growing up, Black History Month was essentially a celebration of the first black person to do something somebody white had already done before them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? The first black congressman, the first black doctor, the first black whatever they did, they weren't the first that we learned about. They were just the first black person to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and the idea that the best we could aspire to be is to watch what white people do and then try to be the first one of us, the inferior race. We can watch what the superior race does and then be the first of the inferiors to catch up.
But then when we found out, we did do a lot of things first.
Exactly.
But it wasn't told that.
Exactly. And that's what we're telling now. And that's that's the next level that we're moving to now with this next generation of thinkers, filmmakers, scholars, etc., bringing that part of the information out.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And what do you say to, like, this is a question that I, I know the answer to, but what do you say to, like, white people will be like, oh, you're being racist because you're talking about, black power and you know what I mean? Like, which I know what it is that we're trying to do. We're trying to have self-worth within ourselves. Right. And got nothing to do with hating another race, unlike what y'all did. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. I'll tell them this. If I'm in I'll give you an example. This is hypothetical and theoretical, but my point will still be made. If I'm standing in front of the Washington Monument and I'm standing there with my two daughters and my son, and I say, look, this is actually an African symbol. This is a tekken that's a symbol to Assad that the Europeans copied and built here, and it's a symbol of resurrection. It's an African symbol. And a white man comes along, overhears that and says, oh, why are you teaching that, blah, blah. You know what I'm gonna tell him? Mind your business, I'm not talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's that's my answer to them.
Yeah.
If any of them watch my film or respond to anything,
we're not talking to you. Yeah.
I'm not talking to you. And that's that slave master's mentality that feels like you have the right to chime in on a conversation between some black people that have nothing to do. I'm not talking to you. And
I gotta explain myself to you.
I'm not talking, I don't have to explain anything.
Yeah.
So think what you want. I don't care what you think. Who are you that I care what you think?
Yeah.
I'm having this conversation with my children. I'm empowering my children.
Yeah.
And giving them information. You don't need to be chiming in on it.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to waste my time trying to rebut you or argue with you because I'm not talking to you in the first place.
Yeah. But like you said, it's that mentality where you have to answer them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's my answer to that. So more directly answer your question, what I say to white people who say that? Nothing. I'm not saying nothing to you because I'm not talking to you.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of these people out here who's trying to convince white people of anything. Because at the end of the day, they can't solve our problem. Brother Tiger, if racism were to end right now, white supremacy were to end right now, and not only, let's take it even further. Let's not only just say, what if racism ended right now? What if on top of racism ending, white people said, we feel so much remorse, we want to give you everything. We're going to do better than reparations. We're going to elect nothing but black presidents from here on out. Nothing but black congressmen, senators, governors, mayors. Nothing but black police departments, police chiefs, black doctors, black everything. We run the military. We got to handle the nuclear button. We run the banks, school systems, everything. What are we prepared to do with that? You follow me?
Yeah.
This is about us cultivating a mindset to be empowered. See, too many of us, I believe, are more concerned with improving our condition within white supremacy as opposed to actually living without it.
That's facts. Wow. Yeah, you're right. And it's not like until you say it, like you said it, and it kind of like, wow, you're right.
Right. And so we really need to develop a stronger sense of what is it. I'm sorry, these things popping up on my screen here. We need to develop a stronger sense of what is it that we are really after as a people. Do we just want white supremacy to treat us better? You see what I'm saying? Do we really just is it really just about, hey, I don't care, I'm fine with y'all running everything, I just want y'all to be nicer to us?
Yeah.
For me, that's an intermediary step on the way to us actually achieving a degree of power in our own thing that we control. There should be things in the world that you can't get unless you come through black people and pay us a fair wage for it, or pay us a fair exchange for it.
Yeah.
Right now, there's nothing that black people have that somebody else can't just take.
Yeah.
There's very little that we have somebody else can't just take, including us.
So
we had so like I said, this the vision that's put forth in this film in the American Logos is one of, it's not about getting black people out to vote. It's not about, a lot of these other kinds of things that are put out there as solutions that ain't really the solution. The solution is knowledge itself. The solution is getting in touch with who our authentic selves are, understanding who we were before we returned into these people that they turn us into within their system.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Exactly.
It's not about just getting our history just so we kind of know it. It's about applying it to how we deal with each other. Look, if racism went in tomorrow, how does that restore the black family? How does that put more black fathers in the household?
Because we still have a problem with a lot of our own.
Exactly. We still need to fix our own problem at the end of the day. All ending racism does is just allow us an opportunity to still do for self, just without the extra burden of dealing with racism on top of it. But we still got to do for self regardless.
Still got to do
so
for
let's
self.
practice now. Let's get a do for self mentality. Because here's the thing, Brother Tiger, if racism were to end tomorrow, that would be the worst thing to happen to so many black people, because what would happen is, if we're in a society that's built just on merit, and it's really not about the color of your skin, but the content of your character and what you bring to the table, so many of us will still be at the bottom of that society.
Yeah.
Because we haven't stepped up and brought that work and developed that mindset to actually build something and succeed and to have thriving families and communities and these kinds of things.
Yeah.
Racism isn't stopping these brothers from raising their kids.
Exactly.
Racism isn't causing so many of these brothers to be of such poor character, frankly, and I'm hard on my brothers because enough of us don't talk about our brothers. We talk about black women, you know what I mean? But understand, a black woman always wants to be with a black man. That's always her first choice. Okay, all these black women you see out here, even married to white men, they will prefer to be with a black man. 90% of them would. And if you ask them, which I do, they'll tell you they tried to be with black men, but they kept getting hurt. They kept getting let down. They kept getting disappointed. They kept getting the brothers who knew that they had something going on, didn't want to commit because they could juggle this and that. And again, cats like us, we were there in our younger lives, and we're probably guilty of some of that too.
Yeah, that's a fact.
But we grow up, we mature, we understand this. We put childish things away and we become men, and we do what men do, which is protect our own, which is create environments for growth and for nourishment of our children. We think generationally. We're looking for so those of us who have a vested interest in developing that future, we haven't fallen for the too many black people. I feel like we've allowed the ball to be moved on us from freedom to success. Black people ain't chasing freedom no more. We chasing success. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're looking to be power couples. The most power couple is a strong family unit in the first place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You
Raising your children with that knowledge of self, with that strength, and with that determination and that intelligence. So many of us are afraid of that accountability that comes with being that type of man. You follow me?
Yeah.
The one that says these are my principles and this is what I'm going to stand on. Like, look, there's a lot of price that I'm paying for putting out this film and for having these conversations. There are a lot of people who won't hire me now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or people that I work with who I haven't gotten calls from, and I'm fine with that because I understand that this is more important for the future of not just my family, my children, but our people in general. And this will contribute to raising our collective consciousness and improving our collective condition. And to me, that's way more important than a little business that I might lose from some person who doesn't appreciate the fact that I'm doing better for my folk and who just wants me to just individually do okay, but not put anything out there that's going to raise my people. No, I'm not falling for that.
And that's why it's important for all our platforms that are trying to get on the same mindset to help one another and, and to really stick together. You know what I mean? Because like you said, if that power was there, if 40 million people were on the same level, we wouldn't even need that over there. We'd be, you know what I mean?
And what's funny is, once we got on the level and didn't need it, that's when we get it.
Yeah.
That's when we get it. Yeah. That's when we got industries, we got businesses going, we generating wealth. Now people want to do business with us. Like, hey, yo, we want how can we get down with that?
Yeah.
Now we doing business.
Yeah. Look, we the number one, I mean, our genre of music, whether, I don't call it hip hop now, but you know what I mean?
Rap.
This rap hip hop has been the number one for, I don't know how long. Like
30 years at least.
Yeah, everything they got from us. Like they want, you know what I mean? And it started with, like I said, with rock and roll, Chuck Berry. But it was like, no, it was Elvis. Like, no, it was Chuck Berry. It was Little Richard. Like, these were the pioneers that didn't get their due until later on or until they passed. Then they get their due. That's why it's so important, like, for me to, like, give, like these icons, they flowers now where they still living. You know what I mean? With this. That's what I like about the verses. I don't know if you watch the verses, but like, when they have
a few of them,
when they have these icons, man, these musical icons, man, it's just beautiful. Watch. To me, it's not even like a battle anymore. It's just about celebrating that history, you know.
Right.
Patty
Right.
LaBelle, Gladys
More of a
Knight.
cipher than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to show, you know what I mean, how important they are to us, and what everyone's doing now to try to spark the brains to get this black mind state, to elevate, man. It's beautiful. And this film, I'm telling you, like I said, people talked about going to Africa. It was beautiful, and I was like, agreed with them, but not really knowing. But I'm watching this and watching the brothers not only talk about it, he's there and he's touching on the hieroglyphics, showing people this is what they said. This was from here. It ain't from America. Exactly. This is what they took from us. And I'm like, I want to go. I never said that before.
Right. You got to go, man.
Yeah.
You got to go, and you can go.
Yeah, you can
everybody
go.
watch you can go.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Baba Kwesi, like I said, Ashra Kwesi does tours there. Runoko Rashidi does tours. Tony Browder does tours. All these brothers have been taking hundreds of black people back every single year for decades. And a lot of us out here, and it's just spreading more and more, especially with the internet now. More people know about them, and can take these trips, you know. And so it's key, man. It's key for us to get back in touch with who we are, what was taken from us when we were brought across that ocean on those ships.
And what was the website you said? Kemet
New. KEMETNU.
NU.
Yeah.
.com.
KEM as in Mary.
Okay.
Yeah. KemetNew.com.
All right. And
that's Brother Kwesi's site, and he does the tours. He does tours of Egypt, and he does tours of Ethiopia in the wintertime.
All right.
Because the most ancient civilizations are in Ethiopia,
Wow.
The most ancient, the oldest churches in the world, like a lot of the oldest temples, that kind of thing. A lot of stuff's in Egypt, but it's in, he goes Sudan, that whole region, that whole northeastern Africa region, that whole Nile Valley.
Yeah.
Taking you from Ethiopia through Uganda all the way north up into Egypt, through Sudan, etc. Our history, that's the birthplace of humanity. That's one thing I appreciated about the Black Panther movie. At the beginning, that meteorite, when it first starts Black Panther, it lands right there. You know what I mean? I'm like, somebody was giving a little wink right there by doing that.
Yeah, they was on their A game when they did that. And I just watched that again recently, after the passing, it felt different, watching it again, after he passed. But that's one thing when I was like, I saw that meteorite hit. Like they knew what they were doing when they did that.
Right, so, absolutely.
Absolutely. It was a lot of metaphors in that movie.
Yeah, and even Bast, even the quote unquote God, for lack of a better term, that they worship in that, Bast is Bastet, which is one of the Kemetic Necharu, or to put it in layman's terms, one of the quote Egyptian gods. But we can do another show on that.
Okay.
A lot of these terminologies that we're given, again, don't do justice to what our ancestors were actually talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just to say Egyptian gods doesn't do anywhere near the justice of what a Necher is or Necharu is, which is what our ancestors worship. Our ancestors understood the higher power to be.
Well, I definitely would love to do another show on that.
Absolutely.
Definitely, because like I said, I'm soaking this knowledge in, and it's beautiful. Everyone needs to do it. The book. Have you ever written a book? That's what I'm asking.
I have not. I do plan on doing a transcript of the raw interviews for this film and putting that into a book.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, y'all, look, the film, like I said, American Lows, Legacy of White Supremacy. There's other guest speakers in there too. Michael Steele, Roland Martin, Etan Thomas, former basketball player. Like, just the knowledge he was given too, that, like stuff I can tell, like what he realized, what was really going on and what they were trying to hold back. And it's just a seeing, like, he's happy, he's there to share that and, try to spread that to people. It was dope to see.
Absolutely.
So I just want, everyone, please, follow Full Blast Radio. Please follow this brother. Your YouTube is the channel.
Blackamore Films on YouTube.
Blackamore Films, YouTube.
Yeah, Blackamore, BLACKAMOOR. Blackamore Films on YouTube.
Blackamore Films, please follow him on YouTube. Get the documentary, the AmericanLows.com. You put the promo code in, DJ Tiger. You $5 off. I'm telling y'all, it's wonderful. A wonderful documentary, and y'all gonna love it. I'm telling y'all. Brother, y'all, I appreciate this. This was dope.
Hey, same here, man. I appreciate you having me on.
I can't wait to do another one.
Absolutely, anytime. Give me a holler.
Definitely. Everyone, thank y'all for tuning in. Full Blast Radio, you know how we do it. Real hip hop, edutainment, as KRS-One would say. And we'll see y'all again next time. Peace.
What's up?